Joining us now is David Rinaldi, who is the Program Director of NET Ministries. Thanks so much for being with us, David.
Oh, it's great to be here, Kevin. Thanks.
Maybe if you could just tell us a little bit about your job as a Program Director at NET Ministries, and what does some of that entail?
Sure. I oversee the ministry that NET does. So we have 14 teams that travel and do retreats or parish work, and then all the behind the scenes, the scheduling, the recruiting, the marketing, the local programming that we do.
Now, I know you have a long history with NET, and I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about how that sort of has grown over the years.
Sure. Well, after college, I was in the Air Force for a number of years. Never heard of NET. Was a volunteer youth minister when I wasn't flying missions overseas. I flew the KC-135 air refueling plane. I would volunteer with youth and heard about NET when I was doing a retreat with some youth, and I was just amazed that there was a Catholic ministry that did what NET does. And I was disappointed, though, because I was in my career. I was planning on staying 20 years in the Air Force. I loved flying. I flew all over the world. After a couple years, I just knew I had to go do this. So I left the Air Force after 7 years, came to NET in 1997, and haven't looked back. It has been just incredible. And I'll often compare it to the Air Force because in the military, you're serving other people, you're doing an important mission. But the mission that we do at NET is, I dare say, even more important. It's not just trying to do a little mission here or there, but it's for the salvation of young people. And it's mind-blowing what we do. Every year we reach out to over 80,000 teenagers, and that doesn't include the thousands of families that the teams stay with as host families and the people they meet on the street. And then what happens to the team members themselves when they go off and do whatever God leads them to do after NET. It's incredible.
Do you find having had that experience too, it helps you now as a program director to go through it and to experience it and be in NET Ministries for so long?
There's been some changes needed. So in the military, well, first of all, I'm from the East Coast, have kind of a type A, let's get things done, and accomplish missions. Now working in ministry for 20 years, having to learn more patience, learning more gentleness, working with people that are right out of high school, and some right out of college, but that are, maybe for some of them, it's their first time away from home.
Yeah.
So it's a different mission, although there's a lot of things that apply to both worlds, I guess.
Yeah. Talk about the experience of the kids that you work with, some of the changes that maybe you see in them having gone through the program, and how that sort of inspires the other people, and maybe inspire yourself as well to see that change in the groups of kids that you get coming in.
We get 150 team members every year, and they're a product of the culture. So as you're aware, I'm sure, there's a great use for media. But if you go to any mall in America, you'll see that teens are hooked to their smartphones. And we bring them in and tell them the phone goes in your locker for the first 2 weeks of training. And we're trying to teach them things that a generation ago we wouldn't have had to teach them. How to have conversations, how to mingle with people, how to look people in the eye when you're talking to them. So there's a lot that we're up against, but it's no different than what the rest of the world is up against.
Yeah.
At the same time, there's an eagerness. Even though you'll hear all sorts of stories about the church or about the current generation, we get these 150 volunteers. They don't come for the money. They're not making any money. They're not getting school credit for it. But they come with a desire to serve, a desire to give. And even though for some of them it's a rough time, they're being told when to wake up, when to go to bed. They don't have much free time. They're only allowed to bring one suitcase, one backpack. So they're very limited. They're experiencing what it's like to be a missionary. And for the most part, they not only accept it, but they're eager. Like, they want something different. They don't want to just go through life like their peers. And they're looking for a challenge. They're looking for the gospel to be real in their life and to wrestle with some truths and to wrestle with each other. They're living in a van for 9 months, and so they're going to have conflicts and learning how to resolve those conflicts. So in some ways, yeah, we're training them for a year of ministry, But in reality, more than that, we're training them how to be Christians for life. How to live a virtuous life, how to reconcile, how to use good speech, and what to look for when you're going to get married someday. Who should you look for in a spouse? Or if God chooses you to a religious vocation, how do you be open to that? How do you discern? And so, as much as we like to look at the numbers of young people on a retreat and how many people that our team serve, our big concern really is what happens to the team members. What do they go off and do? And we have our first bishop now and several priests that have come through our program and religious sisters and brothers and a lot of successful marriages. So it's bore a lot of fruit so far.
That's great. Well, thank you so much,
Oh, you're
David,
welcome.
for being with us and to share your experience. We appreciate it so much. And if people want to find out more about NET Ministries, where do they go?
netusa.org.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. It's great to be here.